2 words in slightly more than 2 words.
Two Words takes place in a country that is described as an inhospitable land with extreme storms and droughts. Because the author was born in Chile, it makes sense to assume that this is where the story takes place. The protagonist of the story is Belisa Crepusculario, a girl born into a family so poor they did not even have names to give their children. One summer, when it is her job to bury 4 of her younger brothers and sisters, she decides to set out on her own to escape poverty.
In the second scene, we see the transformation of Belisa into a prosperous merchant of words. After making the long journey away from her home, she discovers how to read and write from a priest. Belisa then utilizes this and sets up business selling stories, poems, and other combinations of words. She eventually becomes very famous with this, with people waiting even for up to a year to go see her. Sometimes she will throw in a secret word or two that she made up herself and whispers it only to the buyer, never repeating it to anybody else.
One day, while she is selling words, she is kidnapped by a giant man named El Mulatto, who is feared throughout the land for his involvement in the Civil War. Belisa is taken to the Colonel, an even more famous and terrifying master of El Mulatto. But he surprises her with his gentle voice and lonely nature. She learns that the Colonel wants to become president because he is tired of war and does not want to be just another tyrant. Belisa agrees to write him a presidential speech and even gives him 2 secret words to go along with it.
While the Colonel is campaigning, the people fall in love with him because of his speech. But he cannot stop thinking about the 2 secret words Belisa told him, and he is soon too distracted to continue his campaign. El Mulatto angrily summons Belisa back to the Colonel, telling him, "I brought this witch here so you can give her back her words, and she can give you back your manhood." It is then that Belisa and the Colonel realize they are in love and have been the whole time. They presumably live happily ever after together.
Characterization. El Mulatto is characterized as the angry, jealous inferior of the Colonel. He too is in love with Belisa at first, but becomes angry when he realizes that Belisa and the Colonel both have feelings for each other and wants nothing to do with her after that. He mostly serves as a way to connect the Colonel and Belisa when they are apart. Belisa is characterized as stubborn and determined from her ability to move beyond her past. She was so stubborn that she survived to cross through that hill. She is also characterized as delicate and beautiful, as both male characters make repeated references to her body, hair, and sweet mint breath. The Colonel is characterized as violent but sad and eager to right the wrongs he has committed to his people. He is described as wary of waging useless wars and suffering defeats that no subterfuge could transform into victories. He has a soft voice, and when Belisa looks at him, she thinks he is the loneliest man in the world.
Symbolism in the book is the repeated references to mountain lions and descriptions of Belisa and the Colonel, which symbolizes feminine power and courage. The theme of 2 words can be best interpreted using this quote from the story itself, which says, "Words make their way into the world without a master, and anyone with a little cleverness can appropriate them and do business with them."
Isabel Allende was born in Chile in 1942. Her father was the cousin of the Chilean president from 1970 to 1973, Salvador Allende. He was overthrown in a violent military coup and was either killed or committed suicide. Fearing for her own life, she left the country and went on to become a world-renowned author. She has lived in many places during her life, including Venezuela, Bolivia, and Lebanon.
The theme of language as a tool for empowerment in Belisa's story is mirrored in Allende's own personal life. Just as Belisa escaped her town in search for a better life, Allende was forced to leave her own country during the coup. And just as Belisa used language to rise above her hardships, so did Allende. The way that the Colonel seeks out language instead of violence can be seen as a commentary on Chile's political turmoil, with Allende possibly making the point that even a hardened soldier, like the Colonel, can show compassion and peace through language.
Marxist literary criticism. Does the text help or hinder the masses in their struggle for equality and the values of power?
We decided that this text does not help the masses, in this case women, in their struggle for equality. While 2 Words does depict a happy ending for Belisa and the Colonel, and spreads the message of language conquering violence, it ignores a few key details that would make it more effective from a Marxist literary standpoint. First of all, the fact that the Colonel and El Mulatto maliciously kidnap Belisa from the life she knows and hold her hostage in a dark forest is never addressed after they become lovers. It is as if she has forgotten that they took her away from her previous life without caring how she felt about it.
Additionally, the Colonel gets fame and praise from citizens who were previously terrified of him using Belisa's speech and not his own. This fame reflects her intelligence and not his. She is never given credit for her speech, and the Colonel and El Mulatto seem to pay more attention to her body and their reputations, and she never even seems to care that this misconception continues. Melendez's failure to resolve these issues perpetuates instead of revolts against society's power structure of male exploitation of women and defends the power imbalance in society. Using a literary criticism that focuses on how artistic elements free marginalized groups from oppression, Two Words perpetuates the exploitation of women instead of challenging it.
Thanks for watching!